Hello, my name is Matt Harwell, and I am a coastal scientist with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. I would like to spend some time with you to talk about a day in the life of a coastal scientist. Our overall exhibit includes information about EPA's research on nutrients and bacteria, coastal acidification, geophysics, the benefits of nature, and climate change. That's a lot of different kinds of environmental research, so I wanted to show you the range of day-to-day activities a coastal scientist might work on. Is there something that really jumps out to you as a wow moment? For me, it was learning about tide pools, like this one on the right. If anything really jumps out at you as something you'd like to get into as a coastal scientist, let's talk about it. Yes, every day as a coastal scientist can be different. I will show you some examples of field, laboratory, computer, and community-based activities done by coastal researchers here in Oregon. Being interdisciplinary and using a teams approach, that is working with people across a lot of backgrounds and science disciplines, is the way to go for coastal science. Think of that list I mentioned before and the suite of videos for our virtual display. There's no way to be an expert in all of those fields, and we can do more interesting stuff and useful work as a team. Turns out that most of the pictures I'll show you involve working together in teams. Coastal scientists do a variety of work above, in, and under the water. Coastal researchers also work right where the land and water meet. Like the idea of fieldwork? Some of the people in our research laboratory spend most of their career in the field. I spent 10 years doing that. Most, however, do a combination of field, laboratory, and computer-based research. It's not surprising that coastal researchers do a lot of work that is boat-based. In general, there's 3 strategies for fieldwork. Sometimes we bring the samples to us. In the top left, you see researchers using the classic fishing nets. Other times, we use instruments to collect data on the spot, so we do not have to collect a sample. That is especially important for our nutrient and bacteria and coastal acidification research. And sometimes we just have to get ourselves into the same place as the things we are studying. Because nature and the weather can be ever-changing, we also do a lot of research in a laboratory setting. In coastal research, this often involves using tanks and pumping of water. We create mini environments to conduct our studies. Most of these are what we describe as medium in scale, so we call them mesocosms. But work can also be done at the microcosm or small tank scale, such as shown in the bottom right chamber that's just big enough for a single seagrass plant. A laboratory-based approach allows us to control many variables, testing just 1 or 2 variables at a time. An example is on the far left with the pink light. Those are special lights that produce just the wavelengths of light that seagrass in the tank need for photosynthesis. Okay, so we like our gadgets and use instruments pretty much all the time. Many are like what you see in a classroom, including microscopes and simple probes. Others are way more complicated, like the water quality sonde on the top right. That one can be deployed in the field for a long time, measuring things like salinity, temperature, and chemical concentrations every few minutes. It can be deployed for a period of weeks underwater before it has to be retrieved and the data downloaded. The frequency of how often a measurement is taken and the probes contained within the data sonde can vary, making this a very useful instrument. A lot of the time, we have to be creative in developing, modifying, or connecting multiple instruments together for the specific field conditions. In fact, in between the time I started putting these slides together and you watching this video, one of our scientists finished designs on a low-cost, hand-operated pump used to collect water samples to study acidification. This was designed so that all field crews collecting samples for a nationwide coastal condition assessment project will be able to use the exact same methods. Equally important are those specialized instruments we know as computers. Collecting data in the field and lab is great, but there's also a really critical need for crunching the numbers, like my work colleagues are doing here. In simplest terms, Statistics and data analysis is how we turn data into information that we can then use to help analyze a hypothesis, tell a story, draw a map, and design solutions to solve problems. In our laboratory, we do a range of computer-based work, including geophysics, habitat mapping, and analyzing large data sets connecting environmental data to human health data and looking at the connections between the two. Finally, coastal researchers also work with individual people and communities. We do this as part of EPA's mission, which is to protect human health and the environment. In another presentation in this exhibit, you can learn about how researchers are working with communities and stakeholders involved in some kind of decision-making process by studying the benefits that nature provides to people, such as the fish you eat or the way a wetland can clean up bad water quality. As scientists, we call those ecosystem services, but it essentially boils down to ways of looking at coastal research from a how do people benefit perspective. How can we make our science directly relevant to people and helpful for solving community problems is our focus. To finish our time together, I wanted to share some information on career opportunities. The research laboratory that I work with in Newport is part of the Office of Research and Development at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Unfortunately, we're not able to work with anyone under the age of 18, but we would encourage you to keep your eyes out for STEM-type opportunities, such as a science-focused camp counselor, that will help you with your learning about being a scientist and by giving you something STEM-related on your resume. There are occasional unpaid internship opportunities for students 18 and older. For permanent jobs with the EPA, the best resource is usajobs.com, where job announcements are posted. Finally, there are some opportunities in between for college and recent graduates. EPA has several ways to recruit and hire people to help with research. Here are a few resources and web links. Or you can email me. My address is at the top right corner. Thanks, everyone. I had a lot of fun sharing how cool it is to be a coastal scientist. Hey, maybe next time we can meet in person.